All eyes were drawn to the elevator as its doors slid apart. A silence enveloped the elegant lobby. She emerged, trembling, drenched from the downpour, and caked in mud from her knees to her feet. Her garments adhered to her form, her locks were stuck to her visage, and her footwear made a squelching sound with each stride. Amidst the sharp lines of tailored suits and the gleam of polished shoes, she appeared as though she were an outsider. Whispers floated through the air. A handful chuckled quietly to themselves. Security regarded her with skepticism, poised to act, yet the unwavering resolve reflected in her eyes caused them to hesitate. Her name was Emily, 25, without a car, without fashionable attire, and just scraping by for the bus fare. Yet she carried a heart brimming with hope and a freshly printed resume from the public library that very morning. Before the first light of dawn, she had risen to get ready, but as she made her way, her eyes caught sight of an elderly man who had stumbled and fallen near a flooded curb. As the crowd moved on, she hurried to offer her assistance. She missed her bus, dashed through a construction site to save time, and lost her footing in the mud while attempting a shortcut. Now she found herself in the lobby of one of the city's most esteemed companies, leaving traces of dirt on the polished marble floors, gripping her water-stained folder tightly. Those around her cast doubts on her presence, yet she remained steadfast. She wasn't there to dazzle with looks. She was there to demonstrate her value. Unbeknownst to them, this girl, cloaked in mud, was poised to impart a profound lesson in character, beginning with a single opportunity. Before the sun had even risen, she departed from home, her attire impeccably pressed and her resume securely placed in a plastic sleeve to shield it from the impending rain. The battered umbrella, though small and frail, provided scant protection from the raging storm, yet her resolve remained unshaken. Today has the potential to transform her existence. As she emerged onto the street, her gaze fell upon Mrs. Harris, the elderly neighbor, grappling with heavy bags of groceries as she attempted to ascend her porch steps, the rain drenching her frail coat. Without a moment's pause, Emily dashed forward, leaving her umbrella behind. "Allow me to assist you," she offered, softly taking the bags and leading the elderly woman indoors. She acted without hesitation. She simply followed her instincts. However, when she finally departed, the bus had already vanished. She sprinted, eager to seize another opportunity. Her shoes skidded on the slick pavement, her breath misting in the chilly air. She navigated a construction zone, seizing the only opportunity to arrive punctually. That was the moment she faltered. The mud stained her skirt, coated her shoes, and marked her sleeves. With her heart pounding, she pushed herself upward, refusing to pause. Many individuals would have chosen to retreat, declared it a defeat. Yet she remained untouched. Emily would later reflect that she required my presence more than I required punctuality. In that instant, drenched and trembling, caked in mud, she pressed on, racing toward the chance she believed she had just squandered. Unbeknownst to her, the kind gesture she made would soon transform into her most powerful asset. The boardroom sparkled with sleek wood and glass, a contemporary stronghold of aspiration. At the elongated table, candidates in crisp attire gathered, impeccable attire, luxurious timepieces, assured grins. Their resumes showcased prestigious degrees and impeccable experience. Suddenly the door let out a haunting creak as it swung open. Emily entered the scene. Her skirt bore the marks of muddy streaks. Her wet sweater adhered to her figure. Her shoes, which had once been beige, were now a deep, drenched brown. Dialogue ceased. All eyes were drawn. A candidate wore a sly grin. Another cleared his throat, adjusting his position in his seat with a hint of unease. Soft murmurs drifted through the air, ethereal and elusive. Every gaze seemed to weigh heavily upon her, embedding itself into her very being. Yet she remained unyielding. She approached with a measured pace, each step intentional, before settling into a chair at the distant end of the table. The CEO, a distinguished gentleman with silver hair and a wealth of experience, glanced up from her resume, his eyebrow arching in subtle intrigue. The air was heavy with silence, a palpable tension lingering unvoiced. Then Emily began to speak. "I understand I may not appear as expected at this moment," she stated, her voice unwavering. "However, I hold the conviction that character should take precedence over appearance. The atmosphere became still. One of the interviewers widened their eyes in astonishment. Another candidate adjusted his position in the chair. The CEO remained silent. He gazed at her, truly gazed at her, and a warmth flickered in his expression. Amidst the chaos and the grime, he perceived something that eluded the others. A woman who arrived regardless, who refused to let the world's judgment hinder her pursuit. In that quiet moment, a transformation started, one that would alter the course of everything. The room was enveloped in silence, the gravity of Emily's words lingering in the atmosphere. The CEO reclined slightly, observing her intently. He gently placed her resume on the table, leaning in with a contemplative gaze. 3 decades passed, he started, his tone steady yet tinged with nostalgia. I entered a bank interview, my clothes stained with grease from my overnight shift at the auto shop. The atmosphere in the room transformed. The candidates exchanged uncertain looks, questioning whether they had truly understood him correctly. I was 22 years old. I lacked a formal degree. I spent my nights repairing engines and my days immersed in books at the library. I felt utterly drained and financially depleted, and when I arrived, the receptionist nearly turned me away. He offered a subtle smile, his gaze drifting far away. The images flickered in his mind, a younger iteration of himself, hands slick with grease, jeans marked by oil stains, weary eyes seated anxiously opposite a refined banker. The unease, the gazes, the uncertainty, he recalled every moment. Yet one individual looked beyond the surface, the CEO went on. He paid attention. He offered me an opportunity. That day transformed my existence. He fixed his gaze on Emily. Today, I repay the kindness. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. I observe determination, I observe honesty, and I observe a person who refused to be hindered by dirt or criticism. That's the type of individual I seek to have in this organization. Emily's eyes brimmed with tears, yet she held them back. She gave a slight nod, and for the very first time, since her arrival, a smile graced her lips. A change had occurred, affecting not only her but everyone present in that space. Weeks later, the office retained its bright, modern appearance, buzzing with a subtle sense of ambition. Yet, there was an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere. At the heart of a lively meeting room, Emily stood poised. Transformed from the girl who had entered soaked and filthy, she now stood with grace, self-assured and strong. She guided the conversation with poise and precision, her tone steady, her thoughts incisive. The team paid attention, driven by genuine respect rather than mere duty. Beyond the transparent barrier, the CEO observed with a gentle smile, his hands tucked into his pockets. He felt a deep sense of pride as he reflected on how a single moment, a solitary choice, could alter the course of everything. Later that day in the break room, a new intern accidentally spilled her coffee, her face turning a deep shade of red with embarrassment. Emily approached, knelt gracefully with a napkin in hand, and assisted her in tidying up. "Fear not," she murmured. With a gentle grin, we all experience our share of ups and downs. The intern returned the smile, feeling reassured. Emily not only secured the position, she transformed the company's perspective on individuals. She reminded everyone that beneath every chaotic first impression and every jagged edge, there might be someone remarkable. In a realm fixated on refinement and flawlessness, she demonstrated that resilience, compassion, and bravery radiate more brilliantly than any tailored attire ever might. In her actions, she illuminated a way for those who would follow, with their soiled shoes and quaking hearts.